Hi, this is Steve Rappaport, author of Listen First, Turning Social Media Conversations into Business Advantage, just published by Wiley in April 2011. The book, I just want to give you a quick tour of the book. It answers 4 questions that people are asking about listening. The first is, what is listening? So there's a definition that might surprise you because it includes not only conversations, but it also includes behavior and emotions. The second is, how is it done? So that's the research. There's 3 chapters on the research, and one of the chapters that people are finding especially valuable is a chapter on the different solutions that are available out there. And the chapter provides 5 categories of solutions, talks about them, talks about their strengths, and that's backed up by an appendix which gives thumbnail reviews of over 70 vendor solutions, all organized by my scheme. The third question is, how is it used? And so this is the bulk of the book. There's 12 chapters on listening, how it's used to span the entire spectrum of marketing objectives, from understanding consumer mindsets, discovering customers, product innovation, product development, retention, loyalty, customer service, and so forth. The last part of the book concerns the future. Where is listening going? And there are 4 chapters on emerging applications that are very exciting, that really show the near-term future and some of the really advanced ways that listening can be done. And it wraps up with 5 chapters, 15 essays contributed by experts and authorities on listening, their points of view on where listening is going, and suggestions for how to use listening more effectively for building brands. So that's a very short recap of the book. It's available on Amazon, it's in bookstores, wherever books are sold, online, offline, wherever ebooks are sold. The book has really hit the market at the right time. The interest in listening right now is near a peak. Every brand is interested in it. They're looking into it. Many have done pilot projects and things. And I've had the good fortune of meeting a number of these companies and presenting to them, or just working with them in a consulting way. And there's still, I'd say, a lot of important questions that they haven't resolved yet. The ones that I get most often are, how do I organize for listening? You know, just how do I bring this into my company? And what I've learned, you know, from them and from talking to people who do organizational work and things like that, is there is no single standard model yet. Companies vary depending upon their objectives, their resources, their staff available, their size, the categories that they're in. They kind of fall into 3 groups. One is where you might have the lone listener, you know, the person who's dedicated to listening and being the eyes and ears. A second is, and this I think is the most common, is bringing together a cross-functional group of people. So, you know, lawyers, product developers, marketers, customer service, those types, to really focus on bringing listening insights into the company, but understanding them and acting on them from multiple perspectives. And then the third model that's discussed pretty widely, and this is more for very large companies, I think, is creating an internal center of excellence. And there's a couple of different variations of this. One would be like what Gatorade or Dell have recently done, which is to create a social media command center where they're listening and responding and engaging in real time with customers, or a disciplinary center of excellence like IBM has, where there's a core team that provides knowledge, expertise, and services to research groups and business units around the globe. So the organizational question is a very important one, and this is what we know about it so far. Another one is just, which solution do I choose? You know, this is a marketplace where I think that we've seen where the super rapid growth of vendor solutions, I think, is starting to taper off. There was a bit of a gold rush mentality there, because we're starting to see some consolidation, some mergers, some acquisitions, and things among vendors. But where the confusion lies is not only what companies should I look into. I was just asked that question today. But the question is really what do you want to do? Because listening research, I feel, falls into three categories. One is search trends and some monitoring dashboard type stuff using RSS feeds and those sorts of things. The second is social media monitoring, and that's where, if I was going to put a number on it, 95% of the work is done. So this is where companies are really focused on brand mentions, competitors, some keywords and phrases and things like that. Very heavily used by customer service and public relations departments. The highest value add for listening is in the area of social research. And this is where listening is being used to really understand consumers' mindsets, markets, the kind of insights and work that would be done through conventional market research or conventional customer analysis, but using social media, social sources, and listening tools and capabilities. I'd say those are the two questions that I get asked most. But what I'm finding, and this is a new development, and this is development that I'm really happy to see, and that is simply that listening, being the voice of the customer, is being brought into different departments throughout companies now. And it's really been exciting for me to be invited to keynote meetings in our research and development departments. Not marketing research departments, but the real research and development departments that go on at major consumer products companies, or even services like eBay. So, because what they're looking to do is bring insight, not just insight of the customer, but really bring an understanding of the customer into their product development work, because they want to tie their product development much more closely than they have to their markets, to their customers, to their prospects, and to do this to create new products, but also to improve existing products and services. A really good example of that was eBay listening to its developer community and creating APIs and solutions that allowed developers to integrate the eBay e-payments capabilities into their applications without requiring end users to register for eBay accounts or PayPal accounts and things like that. And so now they're really looking to make their R&D investments more efficient and more effective by tying them much more closely to customer needs and interest. When people think about listening, the first thing they think about is conversations that occur online and that are available either through brand websites, brand forums, or the open internet. But when I was researching the book and talked to companies that were doing listening, it became very clear very early that conversations was just one part of how listening needed to be defined. And there are two other parts. And those two other parts are what people do and what people feel. And so listening, in the view that I put in the book, is the study. It's really concerned with what people say, what they do, and what they feel. So it's really the study of freely occurring conversations, emotions, and behaviors, right, that may or may not be guided. And that's an important part of the definition, because in the earlier days, people felt it had to be unfiltered, it had to be unguided, and things. And what we learned when looking into companies that were doing research, especially those running private communities, for example, is that some guidance is okay, provided that it's not coerced, it's not forced, and things. But techniques that are very elicitive, that are very sort of self-directed, are fine. And then the last part of the definition is that all of that is in the service of bringing the customer into the brand, not just to hear what the customer has to say and say, oh, they're interested in that feature or this feature. No, it's really to bring a very comprehensive, holistic, and I'd say sympathetic view of the customer, so to really understand who that person is that you're providing or developing a product or service for. Now, an area that surprised people, and this is the largest piece of the book, is how is listening used? So the insights that are developed, yes, we've talked about customer service and public relations and some brand reputation. That's all extremely important. But where we saw very innovative uses for listening was in areas like understanding the consumer's mindset. So if your market is women and they're shopping for their families and the economy turns down, right? What is really the mindset of those shoppers? What are they thinking about? What kind of trade-offs are they looking for? What kinds of new solutions are they interested in? What other behaviors have they changed? And so listening can really help with that. Another, and I'm going to make two comments about this one. Another is discovering new customers, because the lifeblood of brands is not only serving existing customers, but discovering new ones. And here, I found something particularly interesting, and that was that when it came to brands that had discovered new customers and really took innovative marketing actions to really reach them and market them, these were the brands that discovered multicultural audiences. And I'll give you a couple of examples. One is a cognac, Hennessy cognac. Now, for people in my age bracket, baby boomers or Gen Xers, when you think of Hennessy, you think of, after dinner, brandy snifters, pleasant conversation, men segregated, women segregated, men's clubs, celebration, that sort of thing. But during an exercise that Hennessy was going through, probably search engine optimization, where one of the things you do is you look to see who's linking to me, because the links in affect your search rank in Google. So what they found was that there were a lot of incoming links, but they didn't expect them to come from Black Planet. Black Planet is the largest social network for African Americans. What they discovered was that the Black Planet members were not only linking to the Hennessy site, but scraping pieces of art and copy and things, and using that to decorate their own home pages. So that became an insight, and that's an example of listening to behavior. The behavior here was what I call linking behavior, or link listening, right? Actually making a link and connecting directly to Hennessy. So that became really a pivot. And from there, then they did some more traditional research. They did ethnographic research to understand really the values and the mindsets and interests and things of the Black Planet members. And the second was to do a survey that was informed by the listening to dimensionalize the market opportunity, because that's something that, at least today, you really can't do from listening. So using a combination of resources and different research techniques, Hennessy decided that developing a marketing campaign expressly developed for African American and urban consumers would make a lot of sense. So they did. And they started that probably about 6 years ago. And now if you go to the Hennessy website, it's not about the men's club. It's all about music. It's urban. It's all about mixing. It's all about using, enjoying, and celebrating, each other, using Hennessy really as an ingredient. That was 180 degrees away from, almost 200 years of Hennessy marketing. So it's an example of how you can achieve a marketing objective like discovering new customers, using listening, finding an insight, and actually pivoting or an entire company around that new insight. The result was that they've been growing steadily consequently, and they developed, to my knowledge, 3 new products, 3 new cognacs, expressly for this market. Another example is Suzuki. They have a motorcycle called the Hayabusa. And very similar to Hennessy, they discovered an urban market for this. Prior to that, they thought that the market for it was performance-oriented motorcycle racers. And instead, they changed their entire campaign, again, 180 degrees.
Just quickly on that one, how did they discover that this other market was interested? I mean, you said with the Hennessy example, they saw the incoming links.
Yeah, this is an example also of behavioral listening, thank you, where they looked at, the Hayabusa is a brand that's been around for a while, and they refresh it every so often, every 2 years or so. And what they discovered during the last refresh in 2009, I think, or 8, was that when they looked at the purchasers, right, they found that 40% of the bikes were bought by multicultural urban customers. And they had never seen that before. What was interesting, especially about that, is that insight was observed by their advertising agency, not by their internal analysts. So I don't know for sure, but there's a possibility that over the years there was this evidence, but it's just that there's a phenomenon that when you're an expert and you look at data, you look for patterns that are familiar to you, not patterns that aren't familiar. And so it took a separate set of eyes and a different kind of expertise to see that there might be an opportunity. And then very much like in the Hennessy example, they leveraged that, and then they did additional research, different types, and they came up with this notion that this would be a tremendous market for them. And they've started a campaign which they have refreshed several times over the last few years, and it's proven to be very, very effective for them. So anyway, I've spent quite a bit of time on discovering new customers, but listening is also used for things like sharpening messaging, new product development, new product improvement, reputation management, customer service, as we mentioned, but also retention and loyalty. And so listening is, what I discovered in developing cases for the book, is that listening can be used to achieve the full spectrum, or as somebody I know called this, the full stack of marketing objectives. And if I was writing the book today, I would probably have a couple of more that I would add because more cases have become available. So, listening. So in terms of the application of listening, the key point here is it can be used to achieve all the marketing objectives that we work with and are the bread and butter of our business for years and years. And the applications for it, I think, will be expanding as that we'll see as more cases become available. Another part of the book that I found really fun and interesting to write was where's it going? And this goes beyond listening as a source of insights to really listening as data. And so here there's a number of applications that are just surfacing. They're emerging. Some of them are still very much in the lab, if you will, but very, very exciting, and I just want to run down a couple. One is using listening to predict short-term business outcomes like sales. So for example, I reviewed a number of studies which showed that even measures as simple as a tweet rate, which shows really the rate at which tweets are being produced for something, can be predictive of short-term sales. And there's some really compelling evidence from the movie industry about that. And what I like especially about that study is that it was done by academics at HP Labs, and like good academic studies, they validated their results against other methods of predicting sales, and the tweet rate outperformed the others. So very, very exciting and a promising area of work. Another is more in the media space, is a different way of targeting messages. Still today, advertising is largely targeted by demographic or psychographic, something like that. But what CNN, for example, has discovered is that its audience, in one case, talks very heavily about the Lexus automobiles. CNN viewers actually over-index on Lexus conversations, which are done offline. So working with Lexus, they came up with a media strategy that targeted CNN viewers who talk heavily about Lexus. What's interesting there too is that it's not just the CNN cable properties, but they found that people who use multiple CNN properties, so people who use the cable shows and go on the web, for example, index even higher. So targeting by conversation is becoming a new form of targeting messages made available really only through listening. Another area that's very exciting is in product development. Very sophisticated text mining applications are being used to analyze product reviews and to extract automatically the features that people are talking about and to be able to weight the importance of those features. What's especially valuable in this work is that they're able to identify the features that are the kind of the hard features, if you will, but also some of the softer features that consumers talk about, like intuitive controls, ease of use, good this, good that. Then what they're able to do even further is to take those attributes or characteristics and then model them, econometrically, so that you can see, this actually goes back to some sales prediction, but you can see which of the features are contributing most heavily to sales, which are not, and which can even be detracting from sales. So now some of the real advances in text analytics are being used to x-ray these conversations, reduce the conversations to data, put them into models, and then use those models to predict things. And on the flip, I don't know if it's a flip side, but it's another side of that, is that you can also discover features that people are talking about that aren't yet in the products and can be used for new product development or product improvement. So those are some of the really advanced features. Those are some of the advanced listening methods that rely heavily on text mining and text analytics to really automate the extraction of key topics of conversation, their features, but to weight them in a way that's important for the business. Hi, this is Steve Rappaport, author of Listen First, Turning Social Media Conversations into Business Advantage, just published by Wiley in April 2011. The book, I just want to give you a quick tour of the book. It answers 4 questions that people are asking about listening. The first is, what is listening? So there's a definition that might surprise you because it includes not only conversations, but it also includes behavior and emotions. The second is, how is it done? So that's the research. There's 3 chapters on the research, and one of the chapters that people are finding especially valuable is a chapter on the different solutions that are available out there. And the chapter provides 5 categories of solutions, talks about them, talks about their strengths, and that's backed up by an appendix which gives thumbnail reviews of over 70 vendor solutions, all organized by my scheme. The third question is, how is it used? And so this is the bulk of the book. There's 12 chapters on listening, how it's used to span the entire spectrum of marketing objectives, from understanding consumer mindsets, discovering customers, product innovation, product development, retention, loyalty, customer service, and so forth. The last part of the book concerns the future. Where is listening going? And there are 4 chapters on emerging applications that are very exciting, that really show the near-term future and some of the really advanced ways that listening can be done. And it wraps up with 5 chapters, 15 essays contributed by experts and authorities on listening, their points of view on where listening is going, and suggestions for how to use listening more effectively for building brands. So that's a very short recap of the book. It's available on Amazon, it's in bookstores, wherever books are sold, online, offline, wherever ebooks are sold.